Welcome to a drive in a Nissan 370Z. So this car is actually my personal car. So it has a few mods to it, as we can see. So I am running the Workmeister wheels on this car, and I have them wrapped in an AR1 semi-slick, and I have actually gone and upgraded the brakes on this car as well. As you can see, it is running a DBA T3 slotted rotor in the front, and I have an Endless MX72 brake pad on it, and that really just allows for better braking, because I found that that was a point of just issue in this car. I found that it was overheating a bit too quickly, especially through the cooling, through the brakes. And since changing those over, I've done a track day on them, and they have been absolutely great, and they look awesome as well. And I mean, these wheels, I am just absolutely in love with them. I mean, look at how good they look in the rear. I think they just really suit this car. And yes, I know it needs to be lower. It has monster truck fitment. It is on the list. Coilovers are definitely the next mod. So in terms of other mods to this car, we have an oil cooler in the front. I went with the Z1 19-row oil cooler because these things just overheat and you need an oil cooler in it. There is no exception. And this car came from the last gentleman who had it. It has an exhaust on it. It is called a Fast Intentions exhaust. Now, this exhaust actually sounds really, really good. For a VQ, it makes it sound quite nice. So look, I'll try give as unbiased of a review as I can on my car, but it becomes a bit tricky when it is my car and I know exactly how it handles and how it drives and what I do like and what I don't like, but I will give you the best review that I can. So let's go for a drive. So the Nissan's 370Z was run from 2009 to 2020. Now in this run, there were a couple of changes that they made, but fundamentally the car stayed the same. And that was with the 3.7 litre V6 engine in it. 370Z Nismo came with 4 different models. You had the base model, the touring model, the roadster model, and the Nismo version. So the biggest difference between the base and the touring model and the roadster version are effectively the same. They came with the same options. There's just slightly different dimensions because the roof got cut off and so on and so forth. But between the base and the touring model, there were quite a few differences. So the touring model got the upgraded Bose audio system. You got Bluetooth in the earlier cars from 2009 to 2013. That wasn't an option. You had to get the luxury pack to get that. You got heated and cooled seats, which is a nice feature to have. It's always nice to have more than to have less. And you got the screen display. Now, obviously my screen has been removed and there is a bigger aftermarket screen here, but that's the screen that I'm talking about that you would get if you got the luxury pack. Now, on the base model and the luxury pack, and the Roadster for that matter, there was one option that you could tick, and that's what really made the difference. And that was the Sport Pack. Now what the Sport Pack gave you was the upgraded Brembo brakes, the 19-inch raise wheels, and the VLSD, which is the Viscoff limited slip diff. Now, I would highly, highly recommend, if you're looking to get one of these cars, to try and find one with the Sport Pack on it. If you're planning on not heavily modifying your car and you want something that's good out of the box, because it drastically changes the driving of the car, especially with the LSD. These cars do like to rotate and promote oversteer instead of understeer, which I love. I think is great and it feels incredible, and this car is very easy to control and very easy to drive. But what that means is that when it does that with an open diff, the car never really allows itself to rotate on you properly, and you get a very disrupted driving feel. Whereas with the LSD, you're letting the car do what it naturally wants to do, and it feels really smooth and really enjoyable. So in terms of the brake setup, this runs the 4 pistons in the front and the 2 pistons in the rear from factory. The upgrade is quite drastic, and you're looking at about a 1-inch bigger diameter in rotor in the front and 1.2 inch in the rear over the stock rotor. So it's definitely worth getting unless you're planning on modifying the brakes yourselves. So in terms of problems with this car, anything pre-2013, if you're looking at them, you're going to need to get a few things fixed. The slave cylinder is prone to cracking on these, and when it cracks and it leaks, the clutch pedal gets stuck at the floor, and that is not a good time for anybody. So you're going to need to make sure that you get that fixed if you are looking at picking up a 2013 or newer or older model, or just make sure that fix has already been done, ideally. You also have to look out for the infamous steering lock failure, where basically the electronics aren't talking to the wheel properly and the steering lock is still engaged and it doesn't actually let you start the car, and you can't disengage the steering lock, which becomes a bit of a pain in the ass. And again, you can get fixes for this. You can just remove the steering lock function, and it's something that will save you a world of pain doing now instead of waiting for it to happen to you. Now, regardless of which model you get of this car, you have to get an oil cooler. This car needs an oil cooler, especially if you live in Australia. It is a non-negotiable. Now, because that was the very first thing that I did to my car. This car runs a Z1 19-row oil cooler in it, and even then, I'm still finding that my oil temps in the summer are creeping up quite a bit. So I probably should have gone the 25-row in hindsight. So what is the difference between the Sport Luxury Pack, which is the top of the line, which is this model, and the Nismo, which is obviously the top of the line? So the Nismo edition has the awesome front bumper and rear bumper. They had the Nismo V1, which looks like this, and the Nismo V2, which looks like this. So slight differences. Personally, I really like the front of the V1. I think it gives it more of that Japanese street scene style, and that's just what I think looks cooler personally. But in terms of differences, you had the front and rear bar, you had the Nismo Recaro seats, which are gonna cost you $7,000 if you get a pair. Oh, that's a lot of rocks. This is what happens when you have semi-slicks. It just picks up everything on the road. Oh, that is... It's just painful. Not fun for anybody. Recaro seats, which again are very, very cool, but to get a set of these aftermarket, you'd be looking at paying about $7,000, which is absurd as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of people, what they do is, because the Nismo Duke comes with the same Recaros in it, actually, they're just seat rails slightly different for the height of the car. People will buy the Duke Nismo seats and retrofit them into the Z seats, because the Z seats are just way too expensive. But they are a very nice thing to get if you get the Nismo edition. Now, what you also get in terms of performance is you get a bump in power. So you go from 332 horsepower up to 315 horsepower, up to 350 horsepower, which is about an 18 horsepower gain. And this comes from the Nismo exhaust that you get, which just frees up the airflow in the car and just makes everything run a little bit happier as well. So you get the Nismo exhaust and they retune it a little bit for that extra airflow, which gives you that boost in power. So you also get upgraded springs, Nismo dampeners, and a stiffer and more rigid strut brace. Now, all of this together makes for a car that I haven't driven, a Nismo 370Z, but from what I've heard and from what I've been told, it makes for a car that is more compliant on track when you're trying to grip drive and set lap times. Now, this car is known for drifting and having a rear end that likes to rotate, which I love about this car. I think you can really feel the weight and you drive with the car instead of it doing exactly what you want it to do. There are times where you have to compromise, but with those additions to the Nismo, what it makes is the rear is stiffer, so it doesn't rotate out on you as much, so you have to compromise less and the car will be more compliant to what you want it to do, and as a result you get a more dynamic drive and quicker lap times. So the Nismo also came with its own special rims, which are quite cool as well. Now, as you can see, I've changed out the rims on my car. I've got the Workmeisters on because I just think they're awesome, and I love a set of Workmeisters on any car, especially on a Japanese icon like this. So the price that you're looking to pay between a Nismo 370Z and a top-of-the-line Sport Touring Z would be around a 15 grand difference. So you can pick up a Sport Touring Z for about 30 to 35 grand. I saw some on car sales when I had a look this morning. But the Nismo Zs have actually started to come down in price recently as well, which is quite nice. They've dropped from being in like the 70s all the way down, and there are some on car sales. There's one up for 45 right now with 88,000 Ks on it, which I think is a good buy. That would be a very cool car to have for sub 50 grand. I'd say it's a very good buy, but that's the cheapest one on the market currently for 45, and it ranges all the way up to about 75. There's one which is a 2020 model with 300 kilometers on it, so a brand new car basically. Now, would you pay the extra? Is it worth spending the extra 15 grand to get the Nismo over the Sport Luxury? It depends. Depends on where you hold the value, right? If your objective is to go as fast as you can round the track and have a car that you can just beat on, and you don't really care about all that much in terms of putting kilometers on it and everything like that, I would buy a Sport Touring version and modify the car. And that 15 grand that you save, you can spend on, you can pick up a Recaro seat for like $1,000, $1,500. So you can get a bucket seat put in the car. You can add the bigger oil cooler. You can do the exhaust, the air intakes, the tune. You can do the suspension. You can upgrade the tires. You can do all that. And if you spend 15 grand on the base model, it will be quicker than the Nismo. But if you're someone who likes, and you can also add the aesthetic stuff on after if you want. You can pick up, there are so many places out there that do aftermarket front bumpers and rear bumpers for this car specifically. But the Nismo's the Nismo, right? And it is very, very cool to have a Nismo factory car, and it's something that not a lot of people have. So it really depends on where you place the value. Is it a good car, and do I think it's worth 40 to 50 grand? I think so. Do I think it's worth more than 50 grand? I don't think so. I think that's where the price that you're paying for the Z starts to get a little bit silly. I don't think that this car in any spec is worth more than $50,000 compared to what else you can find out there in the market. A really, really, really good car, and something that for 30 grand to 35 grand, I think it's exactly where it should be. I don't think the car's undervalued. I don't think the car's overvalued, and that goes with the hype around these things as well. Some people absolutely hate them. Some people think it's the best car in the world, and I think it falls exactly where it should and meets every single expectation that people set on this car, and it does everything really, really well. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for joining, and I hope you guys enjoyed the review of my own personal car. Thank you.